We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. First and foremost, right off the bat, I want to apologize, guys, that I was unable to do a post-game show for Iowa versus Purdue. It was a very busy Saturday for me. For me, as I am not affiliated with any of the major Iowa Hawkeye publications or regional papers or anything like that, you never know. You never know. But as I currently am not, and as the channel continues to grow, I do have a life outside of YouTube. And the best I can do is just, and in general, I think that this is a good philosophy to have, is just to do the best that you can. And that's what I do. I do the best I can. And so far, you have been completely covered with the exception of one post game. So I'm pretty happy about that. But I did just want to let you guys know what was going on there. I'm hopeful to be able to do the Iowa versus Wisconsin post game, but we will see. One of the things I do outside of YouTube is I am a sports official, high school and lower level college level. And that does take up, a decent portion of my time. So I will be doing my version of, or an abbreviated version of, the post-game show on the Whip Around. This is the Big Ten Whip Around show plus top 25. And we will be reviewing that. But mainly and firstly, we will, of course, be talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes victory over the Purdue Boilermakers. Before we get into any of that, I want to ask you guys to consider smashing that subscribe button. Support your favorite boy out. At the very least, like, comment, share. If you guys want to donate to the channel, support your boy's coffee habit, you absolutely can by hitting the donation button on this video or on the channel. Or you guys can go into the description and click PayPal or Cash App, and it will take you to where you need to go. And without further ado, let's get into this. So, where do I begin, guys? I mean, Iowa football at this point, especially the last 3 years, 3 or 4 years, I would say, has, and I think I have it down pat at this point, what the philosophy is. And I think Kirk Ferentz, and I've already discussed it with you guys, I think Kirk Ferentz at this point, you go back and you look at the different segments of Kirk Ferentz's coaching career at Iowa. And there are different aspects to it across the board. Okay. Not massively different, but there is some nuance. And I remember probably a few years, 6-7 years back, when Iowa was kind of in the, you had the Jake Christensen lull. Then you had the Jake Rudock situation. And it's funny, nowadays, I think a lot of fans would absolutely take Jake Rudock and that offensive production over what we currently have. And that kind of spurned, every change that Kirk Ferentz has made has been spurned by pressure and, 6-win, 7-win seasons. And the most recent one, because we haven't had one in a while, because Iowa hasn't needed to have one. They've had 9, 10, 8-win seasons. Not bad. There was, if you guys remember correctly, there was the Kirk 2.0. Remember that? Remember the Kirk 2.0? Well, now we're like in the abbreviated Kirk 1.5. That's not even the Kirk when he first started, and it's certainly not the Kirk with CJ Beathard and Nate Stanley or any of either one of those quarterbacks. And when the Iowa media would say Kirk 2.0, What they were referring to would be things like going for it on fourth down, being more aggressive offensively, having more of a openness to the passing game rather than the run game, trying things like, every now and again an onside kick, again, just being more aggressive, taking more chances, going for it on fourth and goal, even if it wasn't on the goal line per se, or within the 5-yard line. Generally, just a more aggressive tone. Wildcat formation, getting the running back in the quarterback spot, more trick plays, things like that. But that's gone. That is completely and utterly gone. And it's absolutely remarkable that we are where we are. And I say all of that to say that at this point, okay, that Kirk is gone. We have not seen that Kirk Ferentz and that Iowa football team for about 5 years now, okay? Where we are at is Kirk in the latter part of his career is he has gotten this down to a science of basically, if he just relies on the defense and the special teams, given that they will perform the way that they usually perform, and they don't make a ton of mistakes offensively, they will have at least, this is hypothetical, they will at least have a 70-75% chance of winning the football game, because this is college football. These are kids, and the less mistakes you make, the bigger chances you have of winning. And on top of that, at least half of the teams on your schedule are below 500. So if you do that against those types of teams, you will have like an 80 to 90% chance of winning, because they will not be able to hang with just this kind of rugged consistency, no mistakes, hard-nosed defense, pinning the team back inside the 20 with a good punter, nailing field goals, yada, yada, yada. And that's all well and good, because when it's a schedule that is not the toughest, which this schedule is shaping out to be, you guys know I always tell you guys that I don't judge the football schedule until the season starts, because you never know. For example, TCU, a lot of people were very high on TCU. Now they're 3-3. They lost to Iowa State. Iowa beat Iowa State. You don't know until the season starts how good or not good the schedule is going to be. Okay. And so when it does shape up to be a positive schedule in favor of the Iowa Hawkeyes, it works in their favor, because more than half the teams are not 500 teams or above 500 teams, 500 or above. And I said this dating back to, because I had, an awakening. I said this going back to the Penn State game. It made me realize that Iowa is the best of the rest. They are and I got this from my dad, because he is a marathon runner and things like that. When people would ask him, "Are you a good runner?" he would say, "I'm the best of the slow people, of the slow runners." And that's what Iowa is. Iowa is the best of the not good teams. They are above average, but they're not elite, and they're not great. I would not say that, to me, there's below average, average, above average, great, elite. Okay. And so really it's nearly impossible for Iowa to beat teams like Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. Now, you may get, and every now and again, like Iowa beat Penn State last year, where their defense absolutely played lights out, or 2 years ago, where their defense, what was the year Iowa beat Penn State? I think it was 2 years ago. Maybe it was last year. I'm going to have to look it up here. Let's see. I think it was 2 years ago, where Iowa beat Penn State because their defense and special teams played absolutely lights out. Let's see here. Maybe I could just share the my screen, but it should be easy enough to pull up here. Yeah, Iowa won 30. They won the last two. They won 41-21 in 2020. That was a very down year for Penn State. And they won 33-20 or 23-20 on the shoulders of the defense and special teams both times. And so that's where we're at. And to me, it is absolutely, I have lost all optimism or hope. I no longer have any hope that this offense will change or get better or improve. I don't think it'll happen until Iowa starts losing a lot of ball games, which they may next year due to Washington, who's in the top 10 this year, Oregon, and who else is going? UCLA, USC going to the Big Ten, and therefore Iowa's schedule will be tougher. But this year, it's not going to happen because at the very least, Iowa will win 8 games this year. Barring tragic collapse, they will win at least 8 games, which to me is not good enough given the schedule. And to me, anything below a 9-win season, regular season, that is, would be an unsuccessful season given the talent and on both sides and the schedule. There's no reason Iowa cannot win 9, 10 games this season, even 11. So Purdue, Iowa versus Purdue. I didn't mean to make that a super drawn out thing. It is absolutely incredible how Iowa can win so many games being outgained and on almost every statistical measure and still win and win fairly easily. I mean, it's the honestly, think outside of like maybe the first half, how much was the game really in question for the Iowa Hawkeyes? Not a ton, not a ton. And this is 2 weeks in a row where Iowa has won a game that they have been outperformed statistically in almost every, and this is in almost every statistical category. And this is not the first time, guys. This is not the first time. This is not the second time. Iowa has been doing this consistently for the past 3 years. In fact, it was a major storyline last year because people were astonished by how Iowa was able to win so many games, being outgained and out statistic guys. It's crazy. And there were a ton of people clamoring that Iowa would come back to earth and eventually they would start losing games and So Iowa, listen, guys, Iowa improved to 5-1. Deacon Hill did. As for the game itself, I'm going to take this down to the micro level. Okay, I took things macro. I'm going to bring it down micro. For this game, Iowa against a 2-3 football team who is now 2-4, first-year head coach, winning 20-14 at home is not. They won, but I'm not like amazed or, I didn't walk away from that game saying, man, Iowa is playing good football right now. It's really hard for me to say that. It really is. Iowa seems like a team that is grasping for air, but somehow while they're grasping for air, they're able to run 50 miles straight and finish the race. It's crazy. I hardly can even believe it. Deacon Hill did not have a good game. There definitely was again a few drop balls. Now, I don't think as many as last week, but Seth Anderson had the dropped pass that resulted in an INT. He finished with 1 touchdown, 1 INT. And I'm really just starting to realize that I don't think it has much to do with the quarterbacks. I mean, it might have something to do with the development of the quarterbacks and how they are in seeing the field. There was one play where Deacon Hill had a wide open in his progression, had a wide open LaShawn Williams that was just totally missed. And he's lucky that that pass was not intercepted in the end zone. So, you know, he had a very rough day. This was not, you know, I was very optimistic coming into this game about what Iowa might be able to do offensively with Deacon Hill in at quarterback. But this is a Brian Ferentz thing. He does not set his quarterbacks up for success. He's constantly, as I've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, he's constantly having his guys run these intermediate to long routes without a ton of creativity, instead of generating plays that give his quarterback confidence, get him in a groove, and then going for those types of plays. See, offense is as much a rhythm as anything else. You know, you have to, especially at the quarterback position, you have to get in a rhythm. You have to get your, you know, you have to see the ball completed. You have to see positive yardage gained. You have to see a play work the way that it should work. So, I mean, I don't really know what else to say anymore about the, you know, because it seems it's the same every single week. The offense sucks. The defense is really good. Special teams really good. Iowa wins by a few points. And it's a really hard position for me to be in, because on one hand, Iowa is 5-1. On the other, things don't really seem that great, honestly. Maybe I'm crazy here. I'd be very curious to hear what you guys have to say on the matter. I know you guys will comment in the comment section. But, you know, what are you going to do? So Iowa improves to 5-1. Let's look at a few more stats. Caleb Johnson, on a high note, had a really good game. And I will be talking more about him in my Iowa versus Wisconsin game preview, because it's huge that Iowa got him back. I mean, LaShawn Williams, I like him as a running back, and I think he may have a chance to stick on an NFL roster, maybe. You know, because he does have, you know, he's built well. And in a better offense, I think he might be able to do better on the ground. And the offensive line did open up some big holes for Caleb, especially that first play. They opened up a massive hole, wider than the sea that was parted in the Old Testament. Okay. But regardless of the talent that in the running back room, the top dog is Caleb Johnson. He is the most physically gifted running back that Iowa has. I mean, that you don't just find Caleb Johnsons everywhere, okay? And in a lot of regards, he reminds me of Braylon Allen. I mean, he's built in a very similar way, you know, 6 foot tall. You know, a lot of running backs are kind of below that 5'11" mark, built really well. Not the most shifty, but when they get downhill, they make it happen. And it's hard to catch them once they pick up some steam, and they're very hard to take down once that occurs. I'm just watching the Illinois versus Nebraska highlights in the background. So it was good to see Caleb Johnson had a good game. LaShawn Williams also had a good game. Iowa having 181 yards on the ground was great. I'd like to see Deacon Hill not lose 25 yards on the ground for Iowa. That's too much. But other than that, really, really good. And, I would just like to see yet again Iowa involve some of their shiftier, more athletic, Seth Anderson. Caleb Brown used to be a running back. You're telling me that you cannot get Caleb Brown involved in the creatively in the run game in a disguised pass play, but it's actually a running. I mean, come on. You have Caleb Brown, the highest rated wide receiver to commit, or it's either him or Oliver Martin, and you can't utilize him in some way. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. Iowa did not complete a single pass to a wide receiver. Common storyline. Iowa in the pass game, it's basically Eric All, and that's it. It's basically the tight ends, and that's it. On a positive note, again, Deacon Hill, really had a tough day. One fumble. He didn't lose it, but did have the fumble. You can't have that. So Jay Higgins had yet another phenomenal game. Logan Lee had a really, really good game. I think he could play on Sundays if he continues to play the way he's playing. He has the size. I mean, he's 6'5". He was a tight end slash defensive end coming out of high school. Now he's D tackle. Xavier Wanpa did have the missed tackle, but he played okay. Aaron Graves looked good. Nick Jackson continues to look good. Iowa has one of the best linebacker units in the country. Cooper DeJean, outside of the PI that he had, which, by the way, as a football official myself, that's let me explain that to you guys. PI is a really hard play to call because wide receivers and DBs constantly have hand fighting. And oftentimes a wide receiver will do something that kind of shows it makes it look like a PI, but it's not. If they fall in a certain way, if they react to a bad pass in a certain way, it's a very tough call. And, when you saw the play in slow motion, I don't think that was a PI. I thought that was normal hand fighting, and I thought the wide receiver just kind of, was falling away, but it wasn't due to Cooper DeJean extending the arm. So that's pretty much all I have, guys, on Iowa versus Purdue. I mean, it's the same old. The last thing to discuss is, again, look at this, guys. This is exactly what we saw last week. Iowa being outgained, having far fewer first downs, third down efficiency, absolutely terrible. Iowa did not manage. I mean, if you cannot hit the 300-yard mark when your run game is able to generate almost 200 yards on the ground, which theoretically should open it up in the passing game, I mean, there's just major problems. Major problems. Passing 247 to 110. And this is yet again, second straight week where Iowa has been outgained, out first downed, out time of possession. And it's not as though, Purdue turned the ball over 6 times or anything like that. I mean, they turned it over one more time than Iowa. So let's see if they have a yards per play. I don't see a yards per play on this. So there 24. Purdue had the football for almost 11 more minutes, and Iowa still won by 6 points. Iowa almost won by double digits if it wasn't for, a final 2-minute touchdown or 5-minute touchdown by Purdue. So, all right, guys, let's move on to the other games in the Big Ten. Try and get this wrapped up here. Nebraska, big victory over Illinois. Illinois is not a good football team, guys. And I've been saying that. Time will tell if last year was an anomaly for Brett Bielema. Time will tell if it was more talent from his predecessor than his talent that he brought to the school. We'll see. But it was a big victory for Nebraska. These are the games that you have to win if you want to have an above 500 game. I think Heinrich Haarberg is playing slightly better, and Nebraska is playing slightly better football with him under center than Georgia Tech transfer Jeff Sims. Illinois had to turn to he might be a true Caden Fagan. I think he's true freshman. Iowa was in on him big time, but they lost out to Illinois. Iowa was one of his finalists. Henrik Haarberg had 82 yards on the ground. Man, that is just such a huge luxury to have, is somebody a quarterback that can, if the passing game is struggling so much, it is such a luxury to have a quarterback that can get it done on the ground and give you 82 yards. So good win. Thomas Fidone, Iowa native, had 42 yards, 3 receptions. So good win for Nebraska. They go to 3-3. And Illinois is 2-4, 0-3 in the Big Ten. And it was a good win, especially because it was on the road. Good win. Minnesota got crushed by Michigan by 42 points. Not a ton to say there. Michigan continues to play excellent football. It's them, Penn State, Ohio State atop of the Big Ten. And that's that. Ohio State woke up in the second half to defeat Maryland. Good victory there. Maryland is 5-1. In the Whip Around show, I have comments, and I love this. I love you guys commenting, giving me your guys' power rankings. The thing is that what I have continued to say about Maryland is that they haven't played anybody. Same with Rutgers. And it's hard for me to be overly high on them when they haven't played anybody. Now, they didn't lose terribly, I guess, to Ohio State. A 20-point loss is still a beatdown, but, not too bad. But, again, it would be easier to judge Maryland if they played a team like Iowa and defeated them, or a Wisconsin and defeated them. It's hard to accurately judge them when they've played a bunch of cream puffs and then Ohio State, because most of the country is not going to beat Ohio State. Wisconsin defeated Rutgers. That was a great victory for the Badgers. Their offense is looking better, not elite or even good, but it's looking better. I will talk more about Wisconsin in the Iowa versus Wisconsin game preview. But suffice it to say, it was a good victory. Let's take a look at the box score for them. More to call, 17 of 31, 145 yards, 1 TD. Braylon Allen hit the 100-yard mark. Jackson Acker, 65 yards. Good game by the Wisconsin tight ends. So there you go. Team stats. 23 first downs to Rutgers 16, and Wisconsin's defense playing really good. Total yards 358 to 275. So Wisconsin has woken up a little bit from their loss to Washington State, and that loss is not looking terrible as weeks go on and Washington State wins more football games. So, we'll see. It's a huge matchup, Iowa versus Wisconsin. Like I said, I'll be doing that game preview soon. Right after I finish recording this. Northwestern defeated Howard. I think this will probably be the last victory of the year for Northwestern. They defeated them 23-20. Iowa State defeated TCU. Here's the thing, guys. I always root for teams that Iowa had, that I root for teams that are on Iowa's schedule to do well, especially teams that Iowa beats, especially teams in the non-conference, because then it makes that victory for Iowa look better. And, Iowa State, I think, will absolutely struggle to have any more victories this year. I'd be surprised if they end up being a 500 team this year, but I still root for them to win. So they're 3-3. They defeated TCU. And as I told you guys, I said, hold the brakes, pump the brakes on Colorado. Don't put too much stock into Colorado's victory over TCU. Just because they played in the national championship game last year does not mean that they're that same team this year. Okay. Especially when the quarterback did not return, Max Duggan or Dugan. Top 25, Georgia shellacked Kentucky. Excellent victory for them. Oklahoma, Red River rivalry defeated Texas in an excellent game. I highly recommend checking out those highlights. Florida State defeated Virginia Tech. USC defeated Arizona in overtime. I think maybe, we'll see how good USC is. They don't have a defense. And this is classic Lincoln Riley not having any defense. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Pac-12 schools do in the Big Ten, because the Big Ten, by and large, is defensive oriented, especially given the weather conditions that exist for half the year in the Big Ten. Whereas in the Pac-12, it's a very West Coast, offensive, entertaining type of football. Notre Dame lost to Louisville. Very crazy loss. Good win for Jeff Brom and Louisville. Alabama defeated Texas A&M 26-20. Washington State lost to UCLA 4-1, first loss of the year. North Carolina defeated Syracuse. Good victory for them. Syracuse was 4-2 entering this. Oregon State defeated Cal. Ole Miss defeated Arkansas. Georgia Tech upset the Miami Hurricanes. LSU came from behind to defeat Missouri. That was a good victory for them. And Wyoming upset Fresno State. So that's pretty much that, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching the Big Ten Whip Around show, plus the top 25. Like I said, I will be recording the Iowa versus Wisconsin game preview, so be on the lookout for that. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow and facts are feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you guys. Can't believe it. I almost forgot my Big Ten power rankings. We got to do that. Let me get this up right now. Cannot believe I almost forgot. So here it is. This was last week. My tiers. I'm going to keep it all the same for tier 1, because to me, it's very difficult to put one above the other. I think Penn State and Ohio State have the better victories than Michigan. But it's 1A, 1B, 1C, okay? And that's just what it is. Tier 2, I still have it being Iowa, Wisconsin, and Maryland. The difference is I probably would put Wisconsin over Iowa by a hair at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. I know that this is supposed to be a tier system, and there is no, necessarily better, but if I were doing that, it would be that. Okay. Tier 3, I do still have Rutgers in there. I forgot about Nebraska. I did not have Nebraska there. Wow. I'm going to go ahead and put Nebraska there. That's the one team I forgot. Purdue and Minnesota are on the verge of tier 4. They're very, very close. They're very close. For now, they will remain there. Minnesota played a very tough opponent in Ohio State. For now, they will stay there. And same with Purdue. You know what? I'm putting Purdue tier 4. I'm putting Purdue tier 4. Just above Illinois. Boom. Done. Decision made. All right, guys, that is my Big Ten power rankings updated. Now we can wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, smash that thing, like, comment, share. If you guys want to donate to the channel, you guys absolutely can. PayPal in the description, Cash App in the description, or you guys can hit the donation button on this video. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow and facts or feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you guys. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye.